Hi, it's Diana here, meditation therapist and metaphysics teacher. And I'd like to read you a chapter from my book, Diana's Book of True Psychic Events and Other Strange Stories. And it was printed in 2009. And this chapter is called Astral Traveling. Michael came for me one evening after I had put the children to bed. I say came, but not in a physical presence. He came in his usual way via the etheric. I used to sometimes get a feeling as if the air was tingling just before he made himself visible to me. My senses were heightened and sounds became more acute. But this evening, he just arrived without my sensing his pre-visit. Would you like to go somewhere special? Of course, I answered him, and before I could ask him where, I found myself on the moon. I didn't have time to look around. We arrived immediately in front of a large boulder. Michael waved his hand, and a door I had not noticed slid to the right, and we stepped through into a small room. There were buttons halfway down the wall in front of me, just past my shoulder. Michael pressed one of them, and I realized we were in a lift. It began moving downwards. I had the impression that it was going extremely fast, although there was no feeling of discomfort at all. The door slid back and we stepped out into a scene right out of the West End in the UK. My first response was one of anger and then astonishment. Michael was slightly behind me to the right and he said nothing. I continued to stare. Not too far in front of me was a road. A lorry was traveling on it, going towards my left. It was one of those lorries used to transport heavy materials. In the back of its huge tray, it was full to the brim with broken paving stones. Michael still had not spoken. I did not know if this truck was taking these broken bricks to repair something on its way from digging them up, or the other way, but either way, it was such a natural scene. My attention was then drawn to the right of me, several dozen yards away. Now, the feeling of amazement really began to take hold of me even more. It seemed to have a delayed effect, judging from the intensity I now felt. There, just a short distance away, was a scene, a duplicate really of Trafalgar Square, London. Again, the feeling of anger arose in me. How dare they, I was telling myself, how dare they do something on such a scale as this and keep it from the people back on earth? And then making us believe that their only association with this moon was a few moon rocks brought back from an often questioned moon visit. I looked at Michael and I looked at the scene again, and I just could not believe the enormity of what I was seeing. Not only a base on the moon, but one that was duplicated right out of West London in the UK. I saw a few people strolling around the square, but for the most part, it was empty. There were the lines around the square, just like the real thing in London. And then I noticed a man with his back half turned so that I could see some of his face. He had blonde curly hair. I noticed the extremely tight curls. But what had struck me through was through this was that it did look truly blonde. Somehow I got the feeling that I didn't like him much. Even from that distance, his aura didn't seem to come over too friendly. He moved from side to side as if to make himself more comfortable. He put one foot on the bench and another on the ground as he sat sideways, and the voice behind me said, "That is the being you refer to as Apollo." Wow. I had various visits to other places on Earth and off world, to planets where I saw life with people interacting just as on Earth. My only, well, the only thing different on one planet were the clothes people wore. Everyone seemed to be wearing a version of a jumpsuit, like the ones that were all the craze in the 80s. Children, men, and women all dressed in varying colors and designs of this jumpsuit outfit. In fact, the place I was taken to on this particular planet was a park area. I could see families having picnics. Others were simply strolling along, mums holding children by the hands and lifting them up quickly up and down the way we all do at home, sometime or other, as a game with our children. It was all so very ordinary and natural looking that it seemed strange to be on another planet where everything was so similar to Earth. I did not see any other part of this planet. The park area was, however, quite large, and I could take in a large expanse of the terrain. Trees were dotted around with smaller growth of vegetation, just as on Earth. I had a few short minutes to observe this, and then I was off somewhere else. One astral visit that I enjoyed so much when I was taken beneath the ocean. I was introduced to all kinds of sea creatures. Some I recognize as those that we all are familiar with, like octopuses and tiny sprat like fish, plankton, sea flowers. They look just like flowers in the most amazing array of colors and delicate form. I swam with a shark. I could not resist saying to this shark that I hope, or that the terms that I did not think it was very nice of its species to eat people. And why were they so vicious? I said the words out. I said the words before I could stop myself. The shark telepathically told me he had never eaten anyone. And I felt that behind these words was the tolerance of an adult to a child. I saw whales. How I love whales. I was always talking to pictures of them. I used to feel the incredible wisdom through those tiny eyes. I have the same feeling of connection with whales that I do with elephants. They so remind me of each other. I felt that I could have stayed with the whale forever. I remember once, months, maybe a year before I had this visit under the sea, that whilst in the bathroom waiting for my bath to run, one of the children or my husband had left a magazine on the bathroom floor, which when I went to pick it up, it had a picture of a whale. I started to admire it and I blew it kisses and generally talking, nonsense talk to the whale. And my mind drifted to all those who were butchered simply to make garments, such as in the Victorian times, and their flesh exploited for various other economic reasons. When I looked at this beautiful whale in the magazine I had in my hand, I felt so sorry. I was talking to this whale picture that what was done to its species was beyond all decency. As I was now in my astral swim with this whale, it told me that it saw scenes of love towards the suffering of its species in my mind, and that any time I needed help, I could call on it. I didn't know what kind of help I could receive from a whale, I was thinking, but I sure was glad and appreciative of the offer. Thank you for listening, Diana. I'll read another chapter another time. Thank you.